Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy and ascension forecast for Sunday, June 26th to Saturday, July 2nd. Okay, so let's hash out last week. We started last week with the building, with the intensity of energies towards the last quarter moon in Pisces at 29 degrees. That happened on the 20th. This particular energy was an aha moment, a crisis point in our consciousness, recognizing the endings, recognizing what isn't working for us, recognizing what we have to let go of, recognizing what it is that we're currently in the process of healing and bringing full circle. That happened just hours before the sun moved into Cancer season, initiating the solstice energy. This is when we started to see the Schumann Resonance pop off with these high vibrational frequencies come into our earthly plane, really kind of emphasizing the energy blockages in our physical bodies. Many of us were low and slow, very exhausted, had lots of aches and pains. Again, we are in a brand new level of this video game, which means that sometimes these high frequency energies coming in may feel like we did when our ascension process first started. This is a new level of consciousness, a new level of enlightenment, of awareness. And we have, just like the onion, we have layers of healing to peel back. The whole healing thing is not a linear process, people. This is a spiral. Just when we think we're over something, just when we think we've concluded something, just when we think that we've passed a lesson, we are going to see this particular energy come back in a different way, in a different form, for us to use our wisdom, our enlightenment, our awareness from a different level of observation. When we do this, we start working through our pain and our trauma at a very fast rate. Many of the things that many of us are struggling with right now would have taken us years to process, just even, I'm going to say 2 years ago, but since the awakening started, we are now moving very quickly, moving through the pain, moving through the trauma, moving through the conflict. We can move through emotions super quick, process it, integrate it, and use these resources, this wisdom, this knowledge in futuristic situations so that we're not caught up. We're not allowing our emotions to get the best of us. We definitely seen all that energy kind of pop off with the solstice. Right after we had the solstice energy pop off, we had Venus, the goddess of love and beauty and worth and pleasure and money, move into Gemini. Now it is an intellectual battlefield, right? We are curious. We are experimenting. Again, the solstice energy opens up this experimentation phase from now until the Lionsgate portal in early August, where we have to open our minds up, open our hearts up, be a little bit more open and communicative and align with people. We have to put ourselves out there. We have to just sort out what our options are. Gemini energy, I want you to always think of options, decisions, choice points. We're debating very extreme choices and decisions and directions in order for us to find what is new, what is comfortable. Venus, of course, representing, worth within ourselves, relationships and love, and of course, money matters and resources. We definitely have a lot on our minds and in our heart space on what it is that we want to change up from here. Again, we just came out of eclipse season only just a month ago that kind of rattled the divine script a little bit. We spent Gemini season trying to debate the pros and cons of the choices, the directions that we were left with. And now in Cancer season, we're dropping down into the heart space to emotionally feel what it is that we need in order to feel safe and secure, to build new foundations, to implement new boundaries in our lives, especially where our home and our family dynamics are concerned. So we got a lot going on. And then today on the 25th, we have Jupiter, the planet of growth and expansion, blessings and abundance, semi-squaring, which is a little bit of a tension point, with the true node, our soul's path, our soul's destiny point. The only reason why I'm bringing this up is because this is going to lead into one of my rants, okay? This particular energy is creating a little bit of a tension point, is creating a whole hell of a lot of conflict, especially on the global grand stage right now, because it doesn't feel like we're moving forward. It feels like we're moving backwards, and for good reason. I don't want you to let this defeat you. We are going to hash it out and talk about this and rant and rave for a little bit. I just wanted you to be aware that there is a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of irritability, a lot of rage coming to the surface of the conscious collective for good reason. We 100% need it. It is going to show us the path that is unfolding for us to take collectively. But I just wanted to just drop this little seed in our lovely little community garden here for us to come back to in just a bit. So what do we got going on this week? We are wrapping up June. The lesson is 6. Let's review what June was supposed to be. The number 6 shows us our daily lives, our tasks, our chores, our responsibilities. It shows us where it is we needed to reorganize, restructure, reanalyze what we are doing on a daily basis in our physical circumstances. The number 6 is highly connected to the 6th house in astrology, which rules over our mental plane, rules over how it is that we are being of service first to ourselves, then to other people. It shows us where it is we needed to take a time out to reevaluate where it is that we've been putting the time, energy, and effort into stabilizing our mind, our body, our soul. It is also connected with the Virgo energy. The Virgo energy is a healing energy here on the physical realm. Virgo sits across from Pisces. Pisces is the healing on the metaphysical level, on the soul level, on the intuitional, emotional, long-term generational level. Virgo energy deals with the here and now, deals with the details of the here and now. We have to get organized. We have to perfect the foundations in our lives, starting with our day-to-day tasks and chores and responsibilities, making sure we have time for our own health and wellness before we overextend our energy to other people, not realizing that we're doing ourselves a disservice by kind of distracting ourselves with other people's problems so that we don't have to do the inner work that is 100% necessary for us to heal ourselves in the here and now, in our physical body, in the physical circumstances that we're currently in, regardless of how uncomfortable they may be. There are always silver linings. There's always a little bit of gratitude that we can pluck out here. The silver linings will show us that. And of course, June was a little bit of a wonky month coming out of eclipse season. We really had to rebalance the scales. That's why we had to do a deep dive into picking apart and analyzing our current physical circumstances so that we could restructure a couple of things and get back to the very basics of where it is that we need to be more disciplined in our lives in order to keep the right kind of foundation and mindset going. So we're wrapping up June. Before June ends, we are going to have Neptune go retrograde. So Neptune is our dreams. It is our soul selves. It is our intuition. It is also illusion. It is also where we numb. It is also where we disassociate and where it is that we don't want to deal with reality. Neptune going retrograde is essentially when the universe slaps the rose-colored glasses off of our pretty little face so that we can stop lying, deluding, fibbing ourselves, stop painting the picture that we want to see and deal with the picture that actually is. We cannot run. We cannot hide. We cannot delude. We cannot whitewash, pink wash, green wash, anything. We have to deal with the matter of facts. It's very uncomfortable. Neptune would prefer to run, would prefer to hide, would prefer to kind of bury our heads in the sand because we don't want to deal with the absolute truth of what is. We would rather live in la la land. We would rather project ourselves in our mental plane to a futuristic version of the reality in which we desire to live instead of actually living in the here and now. Now, this may require us to put a little bit of a pause on us trying to bring our new dreams to life and instead concentrate on cleaning up the mess That is our physical circumstances in the here and now. This is going to be a very interesting time of self-discovery. This is a very strong spiritual lesson because as it is an older planet, this affects us more on the collective level than it does on an individual personal level, although there are going to be little bits and chunks and remnants of your own spiritual lesson based off of where Neptune is transiting in your chart. So we have Neptune going retrograde just hours before our new moon in Cancer on the 28th. Hopefully the moon guide will be up and ready for download for you guys. If you are a moon guide subscriber, you can go ahead and maybe book yourself a moon reading if you feel so inclined. Those are the only kind of readings that I'm doing for now. As you know, I've stepped back doing the one-on-ones, but I kind of feel like, you know what, it's only fair to offer to my moon guide subscribers a moon reading should you feel so inclined to get one. So then we have this new moon in Cancer illuminating for us where it is that the struggle is real emotionally, especially where our home and our family dynamics are concerned, where we've been bumping up against boundaries that have really just been triggering us and activating us, where we've been highly emotional, where we've been trying to align with our intuition. And of course, we've realized right now what it is that we need to be building, where new foundations need to come to life in order to actually support us, not only in our emotional field, not only in our home and our family dynamic, but where it is that we feel safe and secure. Many of us do not feel safe and secure. That is definitely a root chakra blockage in our physical body. If you have lower back pain, hip, or, rigidity in your lower back or hips, groin area, you have a root chakra blockage. That's where our physical lives come into play, where our survival comes into play. Many of us haven't even unlocked the bottom two chakras that rules over our survival. So if you're all about sleep and you're all about food, tells me you got some work to do on your root chakra. So we have this new moon in Cancer, highly emotional, super sensitive, has a lot of really negative aspects to it. I would say more negative than positive, but that tells me that this is going to be a huge transformational energy. This is the first new moon since the solstice. We're on I'm going to say an equal playing field right now. We just had a very, very dark negative event, which I'm going to talk about here in my rant and rave, which means that a lot should have been illuminated to us, especially where the feminine divine mother energy is concerned. Read between the lines. I'm going to have to get very creative on how I'm supposed to talk about certain topics and themes, especially seeing as now I'm in Canada. We are facing the C11 bill of censorship on the Canadian platforms. I know it hasn't even passed yet, but I've actually seen a dip in my algorithm, in my subscribers, and my revenue just over this past week. Something's going on, not only on the social media platforms, but on YouTube as well. Something is going on blocking, astrologers, light workers, truthers, to be honest with you, because we're at a very important time, which I am going to dive into. So then we get the new moon at Cancer out of the way. We jump into July. July brings us with the lesson of 7. What do we know about 7? First of all, 7 is a very divine number. This, although many of us would want to say lucky number 7 and associate that to gambling, there is a lot of luck that comes with number 7. We have to look at what 7 actually teaches us, especially in astrology and in the zodiac wheel. 7 is where we share ourselves with the world. Okay. It's the relationship that we have to each other and to every single thing that we share our energy with. Number 7 in the astrology realm relates to Libran energy, where we fight for peace, harmony, balance, where we do what is right, what is fair, where we look at, quote unquote, the court proceedings in order for justice to be served. Libra is ruled over by Venus, the goddess, okay, who gives birth to certain elements in this physical realm. Again, I'm trying to be clever with the key words here, okay? We're talking about feminine divine energy. We're talking about goddess energy. We're talking about giving birth, the mother role, Cancer energy, mother role, Venus, goddess, Libra, justice, fairness. Okay, you're with me. You're with me. So number 7 is going to bring us an energy where, because we're in this experimentation phase, because of the solstice energy, because we are experimenting with new choices, new decisions, new paths, new directions, up until the Lionsgate portal, where we lock in new storylines, where we have the opportunity to timeline jump, where new soul contracts are being renewed, terminated, rewritten, whatever the case may be. We're in a time of high experimentation. The number 7 means that we get to experiment in our personal relationships. We get to bring a new energy, a new dynamic to who it is that we're spending our time and energy with, and how we learn about ourselves through the relationship that we have with the rest of the world. Many of my light worker friends are cringing right now because we're like, ew, we hate people. We hate it here. Yeah, we do. But guess what? Our major lesson is to learn to love it. Okay, it's going to be hard as hell, right? But we're in hell, so we have to learn to love hell. Pluck out those silver linings. It's what we got to do. So July is going to bring a brand new chapter, a brand new lesson. Look out for the July energy forecast dropping later on this week. What I will also say is that we are wrapping up Mars being in its place of power in Aries, and we are also wrapping up Mercury being in his place of power in Gemini. Both Mars and Mercury will be moving into new energies, new signs on the 5th. I want you to pay attention to my words right now. We're going to read between the lines. I'm dropping hints through all this whole freaking forecast. I have to be cryptic. The 5th is a big day for a lot of reasons. We're going to unpack some of it. I just need you to pay attention to the fact that we have Mars, the god of war, Mercury, the messenger of the gods, moving out of their powerful placements on the exact same day as we have the Sirius portal on the 4th and the 5th. That means our sun is aligning with the Sirius star system in our galaxy, which typically speaking downloads us with high frequencies, new light codes, new activation codes. This is basically a choice point in spiritual renewal. We also have a concerning matter taking place on the 5th as well, which we're going to talk about in a cryptic way here in just a second. I just want to repeat that for those of you that may have missed it. We have a concerning matter on the 5th as well. Okay, so I'm about to jump into my rant. First, I just want to thank you all for being here, for spending your time, your energy with me. I want to thank you for your patience, for your understanding of me having to reschedule this. Most of the time we do our live chats on Friday evenings. We have a whole community, a whole group that tunes in at that time. I did post that I was rescheduling it because there was elements and circumstances out of my control that prevented me from doing the live chat on Friday like I normally do. And apparently because of the algorithm, because I feel like I'm being censored once again, only a handful of people actually seen that post. I woke up this morning and had so many DMs, so many emails, so many comments about, are you okay? How come you didn't do the Ascension forecast? How come you missed last night? And I keep saying, I posted about it, but guess what? Censorship is real, and I'm definitely being censored. This week alone, I had 3 different people reach out to me on Instagram to say, do you know how hard it was to actually find your Instagram? Like, I'm a subscriber here and it still doesn't show up for me. It doesn't show up in my feed. I even search it and it tells me that the feed is unavailable. There's a lot of wonkiness going on right now. Again, I mentioned I'm in Canada. They just passed the C11 bill, which is a huge censorship bill for Canadians. It likely is going to have a huge impact on YouTube and content creators, especially in Canada. And again, to be totally transparent with you guys, I make about maybe average $200 off of YouTube just from the ads that run on this channel. And this month is one of my lower months. The month is almost over. I'm only at about $150. I've seen a huge drop for the first time in months. I had only 800 people check out my channel in a 48-hour span. Normally I'm around 1,500 to 2,000 people on live all the time. And to see that, this bill hasn't even been passed yet, but the minute that they started speaking about it, suddenly my numbers have shifted, is a super, super scary thing. So with that being said, I also want to thank you for those of you that felt like you wanted to show your love, your support, your encouragement in a monetary sense. I want to thank you so much for those donations because, again, I'm taking a hit on my ad revenue here on this channel. So every little bit helps. I want to thank you so, so much. So I want to talk about, first of all, what yesterday was all about, why I was unable to do it. I want to give you a real life example on what popped off yesterday, collectively and personally, okay? And this is a story time. It's also a rant. It's also a rave. It is going to feed in to other subjects that I'm going to have to be cryptic about. So I just want you to just take a deep breath with me and let's walk through this together, okay? So yesterday, Friday, June 24th, 2022 was a 666 day. It was June, the 6th month. 24 equals 6. 2022 is the year of 6, as you well know. 666, although most people want to think devil, Satan, 666 is actually carbon-based. That's what human and man is made out of. You hear me rant about it before. If you automatically think that it is evil, that's because the evil agenda has done a great job at contaminating your mind and brainwashing you. It's not necessarily a bad day, but in this 3D matrix that we're living in this earth plane where they have basically brainwashed people to worship a God that is not the God that we should be worshiping. It is a man-made, let's call it hating God. We had a lot pop off yesterday. Yesterday was an energy harvesting day for the evil agenda. What does that mean? First of all, we have a whole calendar, okay? Our calendar is based off of an overlapping old pagan holidays that were used for good, okay? If you think pagan and you have a negative understanding of what that is, that's because, again, the evil agenda people have done a great job in being able to brainwash you. Paganism is basically living off of the earth. It's working with the natural laws of the earth. That's back in the day, if you were considered a quote unquote witch, you were literally using earth and plant medicine. You were worshiping the sun and the moon. You were honoring the laws and the, let's call it, rules and regulations of the one natural law where everything is connected, where we honor and respect anything with life force, where we are recognizing that, you know what, we don't own the planet, that we have to respect the planet. It's a give and take relationship. Then you had the whole Christian conversion, European white man looking for power and control come in and basically kill all of these nature-loving, quote unquote, witches. Okay? What they did, they took the pagan holidays that were about giving thanks, giving respect, giving honor back to the earth, to everything that we feed off of on this earth, to praise, the cosmos, the universe, the creator. And the Christian conversion basically scrapped that whole calendar, made their own capitalistic Christianized calendar, and overlapped the holidays that we celebrate in the here and now with the pagan holidays, because that is where the energy got created from. Of course, the evil agendas, the dark force agenda, has their own earthly matrix. That's the 3D realm that we're living in right now. That is meant to worship the wrong God, the God of this earth, which is actually Satan. Okay? Instead of actually the creator, the creator that has created everything, we have been brainwashed, tricked, and fooled into worshiping a false god. Bottom line. I am, and here's another little digress point, I am considering making a private podcast that may or may not be requiring a small fee so that I can talk about this stuff freely on my website without being, censored and kicked off and having to be so cryptic. There's a lot of topics and themes that I don't feel I can give any attention to here on this platform that I've really been debating on whether or not I can move to a private podcast. The downfall of that is that there likely will have to be a small fee associated with that because I'm already doing way too much for free. It's very expensive to run the podcast platform on my website. I put a lot of time and energy into it, so I'm going to have to figure that out. I would like to know in the comments if that, even just a small donational fee, if that's something that you would tune into. Many people I know don't like to leave certain platforms, so for all you on YouTube, I just want to know, would you be willing to leave YouTube and come over to my website and listen to a private podcast about some of these sensitive type of topics? I really would like to know that. Drop me a line in the comments. That is definitely where I digressed. So yesterday was an energy harvesting day, 666, day of anger, day of frustration, day of negativity. Now, let me just say this. First, I'm going to give you my personal experience because this is what happened to me yesterday. Now, coming in, I have the knowledge, I have the wisdom to know that on energy harvesting days, they're likely going to be a shit show. And we have to work extra hard in order to stay positive, to not give any emotion, because when you give an emotion, good, bad, or otherwise, you're feeding the dark force agenda monsters, okay? They feed off of our energy, our emotion. So I already knew coming into the day it was likely going to be a testy day. If you listen to the daily energy forecast, you would have known we were going to be highly irritable, on the verge of anger and rage. It was going to be a hard day to navigate. And so I woke up yesterday to no power. A truck had basically come speeding down the road. I live in bum F nowhere, okay? I live out in the woods, kind of semi-country. So this big truck come down the road. Whatever happened, went off the road, took out some power poles. I wake up to no power. I'm like, okay, this is never fun. This is never great. Okay, not getting my morning coffee. This is already not a good start, but I'm laughing at it because I'm like, you know what? Of course. I'm not going to complain about first world problems and not being able to, have power, have the internet and have my coffee and be able to sit down and drink my coffee and respond to emails and comments. That's not how today is going. I'm able to check, and with the community, I see that the outage map has said that power was going to be restored around 10:30. So I'm like, you know what? That's not so bad. 10:30 comes and goes. There's still no indication. I go to the end of my driveway. I can see, all the lights and all the responders and, everything is just jamming down the road. So I sit here and I'm like, you know what, this is kind of boring, but I'm going to contemplate life. Today is supposed to be an angry day. At this point in time, as you know, I'm not on the internet, so I don't see what's popping off collectively. So I'm just sitting here and I'm like, we're going to stay calm. It could be worse. Think of the driver. Maybe he's hurt. He's having a bad day. My day isn't as bad as that. So I keep checking with the outage map. It keeps pushing the power restoration time by an hour. So we had a really, really, really hard rainy day here yesterday. And, to listen to the rain, to see the rain, my dog's in a mood. She don't like rain. She's in a tizzy. She has high anxiety because it's another rain day. I haven't drank my coffee. It's Friday. I'm supposed to be doing my recordings in order to go live Friday evening. As you well know, I am unable to do that. Then you start to realize how much of your life is affected by the internet. Affected by power, affected by coffee. Okay. Now I'm nearing, midday. Now I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated. I think to myself, you know what? That's fine. I'm going to save myself some time. I'm going to get in my car. I'm going to drive to Tim Hortons, which is, 10, 15 minutes away, and at least solve, the coffee issue. So I go out, get down there. Well, they shut the whole road down. Now, to give you a little bit of perspective, to shut the road down that I live in, they've detoured now around this particular area, which means that I have to essentially drive over an hour to go all the way around to get to the destination that is technically only 10 minutes away from me. So I'm like, you know what? Price of gas? No, not doing it. I don't need coffee that bad. That's fine. I'm just going to go back home. The people down there, the cops, they tell me, you know what? It's probably going to be another hour. I said, you know what? That's fine. I come back. I stare out the window. I'm trying to zen myself out. I'm realizing where it is that, you know, I got to get off the grid. I got to go on solar. I got to, you know, not be dependent on power. I want to be able to have the gear to have my internet going, regardless of whether I'm on the grid or not. So now I'm realizing self-sufficiency. Okay. Uranus is in Taurus. The moon was in Taurus. Taurus is about our physical circumstances. It's also about our resources and where it is that we need to be more self-sustainable, especially where food and agriculture is concerned. The Uranian energy, of course, is technology and, you know, science and, you know, the electrical grid. So I'm sitting here because, you know, I'm constantly thinking about the aspects at play. I'm constantly thinking to not get angry because I don't want to, you know, I don't want to empower the dark force agenda on this 666 day. So I'm trying to be zen. I go out every hour, nothing's happening. Road is still blocked. Okay, so now I'm starting to get a little bit frustrated because realistically, I don't know what to do when we don't have power. Like, what are you supposed to do? I don't have water when I don't have power because I'm on a well. I don't, you know, can't open the fridge, can't open the freezer. I don't have any food that I could just prepare without, you know, power. So now this is really starting to get to me. I'm starting to get really frustrated. Now I'm realizing, oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to have time to do my recordings because YouTube lately takes 2.5 hours in order to listen to all my audio to make it public because censorship. So I'm like looking at the time, realizing all that I have to do. And as the time is passing and as the day continues and I don't have, you know, coffee or water or food, I'm starting to get angry and agitated. Now, every single time that I'm angry and agitated, I'm saying, oh my God, they got me. They got me. I'm feeding the dark force. I'm feeding the dark force. This is exactly what they wanted. Now I'm getting angry because I've stooped to their level. Now I'm in their realm of frustration. So fast forward, I spend the whole day constantly, every hour going down. They will not let me buy. They will not let anybody buy. 5 o'clock comes when the power was supposed to be restored. Power is still not restored. 5:30, I'm sitting there. They finally open one lane of traffic. I'm finally able to get through. Woohoo, let's celebrate. Things are turning around. I'm able to at least drive to Tim Hortons, get myself a coffee, get myself something to eat, grab a bottle of water, go on their internet, respond to who it is that I need to respond to. Realize at this point, I'm probably not getting my live chat done. That's just something that, you know what, I'm going to have to make peace with as a perfectionist, as somebody who has, you know, OCD and likes to stick to a strict schedule. I'm just going to have to make peace with this. One of my favorite sayings is, when man plans, God laughs. And that was definitely yesterday for me. So I get all my goods. I finally start coming back, sit through all the traffic now because these roads are open. These country roads have a lot of people. So I sit through the traffic. I'm not somebody that leaves home very often, so my road rage is real. I finally get back to my house. The minute that I walk through my door, the power comes on. Okay. Now, one would think, yay, this is something to celebrate. Nope, not me. The funk that I was in, I was like, of course, right? Of course. I just drove after raging all day. I just spent money on coffee that I actually don't even enjoy because I don't really enjoy Tim Hortons. I got a wrap, which is, you know, gluten-filled processed food. I know it's going to make me sick. That's okay. I thought that was my only option. So I spent money on that. Now I have to eat it. None of it was good. And I thought to myself, of course, right? It's not something for me to celebrate. Of course the power would come on as soon as I walk through the freaking door. So here I am scrambling to try and put all of this disgusting food in me that I don't even want at this point. I'm trying to check to see if I lost all of my fridge and freezer contents. Luckily for me, that was all good. I try to, you know, clean up the place because I'm on a well. There were, you know, pipes to run and get the water coming back in. There were toilets that, you know, exceeded their one courtesy flush while the power was out. There's a lot to reset, a lot to get going again when the power comes back on. So I'm doing all that, still looking at the time, realizing, nope, the live chat isn't going to happen. I'm going to have to make that post. Make that post. YouTube holds it and screens it for however long. That frustrates the hell out of me. I do my normal daily energy forecast in order to at least get that up for the energy today. Wasn't really feeling it, had a hard time, had to edit it. Things just didn't go well. I'm now angry. I'm in a funk. And I realize that the longer that I stay angry, the more I'm feeding the exact dark force agenda that I want to have nothing to do with. Okay, so then I'm able to get on social media and I see Roe v. Wade. I'm pausing for dramatic effect. First of all, the fact that I even have to talk about this infuriates me, which in turn feeds the dark force agenda. So I'm already defeated, okay? But I had so many people message me about, are you going to talk about the Roe v. Wade? Are you going to talk about the Roe v. Wade? And I really don't want to. As you know, I try not to dwell on the 3D fake ass distractible storylines that the dark force agenda creates in order to create havoc and chaos and division and anger and frustration. Why? Because it was a 666 day. It was an energy harvesting day. You had everybody and their dog popping off, talking about their thoughts. You have one side of the world happy that now, you know, as far as the, what are we going to call this? Because I can't use the words. Termination action goes, you have happy people. Now, these happy people, first of all, one would say, especially in America, that they are the red states, okay, the Republicans. Well, there's a reason for that, because they do tend to lean towards, you know, keeping church and state a little bit closer than it should be. The Republican states also realize that for a whole lot longer than it should have, the Democrats have been using this termination action in order to further their own agendas, such as Planned Parenthood. If you don't understand right now, you don't understand that they have been capitalizing on dead babies and fetuses and organ harvesting and using them for their agendas, then you need to understand that there's a greater plan going on here, okay? It's not that the red side just wants to take that right away from women. It's that they want to put the kibosh on this, I'm going to call it energy and organ harvesting ritual that has totally demonized the nuclear family, first of all, that have gone over and above to make this termination action a form of birth control, which is not good. I don't think you guys realize the business part that goes behind this termination action. Now, of course, you have people totally upset because, you know, are we reverting back in time where we do not have the choice over our bodies? Well, what I find interesting is that, you know, everybody's now upset because the woman's choice is removed, the bodily autonomy is removed, but yet we just went to war over the last 2 years fighting with the unvaccinated people that didn't want to get the Jabberwocky, that they should be forced into taking that medical experiment because, you know, you should do it for your neighbor. Okay, now I know it's two different things, so don't come at me. Don't come at me. Bottom line, these are divisive tactics. These are topics and themes that they know, the dark force agenda, know are going to be so controversial. You're going to have so many triggers, so many activators, create an energy and emotion that they are harvesting off of. They don't care whether you're for it. They don't care whether you're against it. It is a divine script, okay? First of all, I want to remind you that the USA is going through their Pluto return. We are at the 27th degree that the Pluto return takes place in their chart. This goes back to the absolute beginning of what the United States of America was birthed off of. And there needs to be an absolute destruction of the government, the systems, the structures that has turned a country into a corporation. Now, let me also say, regardless of whether you're for it or against it, if you have an emotion, you're feeding the dark force agenda. The minute that you start talking about it, the minute that you bring that into your awareness, the minute that you give it time, attention, and energy, you are feeding the dark force agenda. That's why I'm so angry, because now I got to come out of my 5D observer mentality, knowing that this storyline has to play out, not only for the destruction of America, but for the uprising of the feminine divine energy, the building, the steps that are needed in order to get us to the point of the next revolution, which is taking place 2024 to 2026, okay? You have to understand that when women are being oppressed, just like when people of color are being oppressed, it's because they are in power. Okay? If you think that the vice president, that the political figures, blah, 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 that are speaking out against this particular decision are actually against it, please understand that you're being fooled once again, that they are actors, that they are pushing their own agendas, that they are looking to be on your side so that you will basically conform to their play in the part of harvesting your energy. You have to understand that the white hats are in control, that everything that you are currently seeing right now is fake, is staged from the 5D level. When we come down to the 3D level, we start pouring into it time, energy, and attention. We bring it to life. I also want to talk about this. This is where we're going with this, okay? Anything that creates division is a 3D dark force agenda plan. Anything that creates hate, anger, emotion is an energy harvesting tool. One would say, why is this happening right now? Well, first of all, it was a 666 day, energy harvesting day. But also what I need you to realize, and I'm about to get cryptic here again, we have a concerning matter to talk about. July 5th, CERN is amping up its experimentation, okay? We are essentially going to be smashing atoms together at the highest electrical frequency that it has never performed at once again. I want to clear something up here because CERN has a bad rap as well. And I want to talk a little bit. I'm going to have to school you just for a quick little generalized lesson. Again, this is probably something I should go more in depth into in a podcast in some other place. I want to talk about quantum physics so that you all understand what the CERN machine is about. Quantum physics suggests that everything started with a light wave of energy. And quantum physics also suggests that quantum wave, that vibration, that frequency of energy is free to operate at that level until it is pressurized and put under observation of a unit of measure. And at that time, it turns into atom. Quantum physics, atom, A-T-O-M, just as the Bible talks about creating the first atom, A-D-A-M, quantum physics suggests that energy, light, information, when observed under a measure of unit, creates the first atom. You need an atom in order to have matter. Everything is made up of atoms, okay? An atom in science creates energy, also known as E, or electrical volts, EV. As in the Bible, God spoke, the word became flesh, that was Adam, A-D-A-M, and from Adam, A-D-A-M, comes Eve, E-V-E. So electrical voltage, or Eve, comes from Adam, which is matter. So, are you with me so far, right? An atom is concentrated energy. And what quantum physics has now proven to be true is that atoms are concentrated energy from our thoughts, emotions, and intentions. Again, this is why I'm ranting all the time about being consciously aware of what you talk about, how you bring certain things out of your mouth, out of your body, out of your mind space, how you breathe life into them. How when you spend time, energy, and give attention to certain things that you're actually manifesting, that situation, that storyline, that scenario. What we know to be true is that atoms, matter, that has created this whole freaking 3D reality, because I'm not even going to go on a Bible rant, but basically, paradise or the Garden of Eden was pure energy. It was not physical form. It was not density. The minute that there was biting of the apple that fell from the tree of knowledge with both good and evil, was the minute that consciousness got made into man matter, 666 carbon-based matter. That moment in the Bible, that's when they became aware of their physical form, where they covered themselves up, where they had to leave paradise, leave the Garden of Eden, to come down to this 3D earth plane that the quote-unquote devil or Satan has rulership and powership over. That's as far as I'm going to take the Bible, okay? But just understand that in the Bible, like it says, the Word was brought into flesh. Over in quantum physics, the vibration, the frequency, which is the word, because that's what happens when you speak, a sound leaves your mouth when you speak. When that vibration and frequency from a wave is now observed under some kind of consciousness, some kind of unit of measure, it becomes an atom, it becomes matter. So this CERN machine is taking atoms, smashing them together at the highest frequencies possible, coming to us live on July 5th, also the same day as Mars and Mercury move out of their respective place of power and move into a different energy, which is very important, seeing that we're in the Sirius portal, downloading high vibrations and frequencies from the star system into our Earth, okay? This is all connected. Understand that the energy harvesting event that took place yesterday is a build-up to this very peak energy experiment. Now, what happens when you smash atoms together? Why are they doing it? They want to create the energy to see whether the Big Bang was actually the way that it went. But what happens is when you take atoms, okay, that are matter, that are concentrated thoughts and energy, when you smash them together, what it does is it creates antimatter. Antimatter and matter annihilate each other. They destroy each other. That's why they have Shiva statue outside of their compound. Now, many people would look at that and say, oh, Shiva's the destroyer. Well, yes and no. First of all, destroyer, what do we think of in astrology when we talk about destroyer? We talk about Pluto, right? Pluto, the great destroyer, needs to destroy all that does not align with our highest vibration, our highest mission, our highest purpose. He destroys in order to clean the slate, in order to provide us with a renewal, a resurrection, a rebirth. Same with Shiva. Shiva is the Christ consciousness, the Christo consciousness, the crystalline consciousness, but all bad needs to be destroyed in order for there to be a platform for the new to be anchored in. So you have these atoms creating antimatter. You have an antimatter atom with a real matter atom clashing together. They get destroyed. What happens? The Mandela effect. Why? Because it's concentrated thoughts, energy, intention. So for everyone out there that is saying, oh, CERN's turning on their machines on the 5th, look out, scary thing. No. If you are focused on the scary storylines, then yes, that's what's going to manifest, because your thoughts are pouring into the collective hive mind, if you will. And therefore, you are responsible for these negative ass storylines that are currently being written in the collective. What we need to be doing is recognizing the storyline that we want to stick. What we need to be doing is focusing on what it is that we want to be destroyed. We have to embody the great destroyer. We have to embody the great creator, because they're the same thing. They're the polarized opposites of the same energy. And we, knowing that we just had a huge energy harvesting event that is creating anger, frustration, division, protest, not to mention the divine script of the evildoers putting pallets of bricks out in very interesting places in order for the angry people to fight back. Why? Because their next role, their next step in their agenda is to enforce martial law. Why do they want to do that? Utter control. How do we avoid doing that? One love in consciousness. They literally are creating situations not only to invoke emotions that they can harvest off of, but they are also creating situations that they know that the 3D unwoke people will fall into, to rebel, to fight back, to protest, to give them a reason to enforce more boundaries, more laws, And martial law is the end all goal for them. That's how we move into the one world government, the new world order, if you will. That is their next play. So one would say, well, we want New Earth. We want to live in 5D. What do we do about this? Give it no mind. Stop talking about it. Stop giving it energy. Stop giving it attention. And one would say, okay, but you're talking about it right now. Like you're fueling the fire. Yes, I am. And I'm frustrated because now I got to come out of my 5D observation role where I know that this storyline, how it goes. I know the ending of this. I know the play of this. I know that we are meant to have all of these sequences unfold in order to create a reaction so that they can further their agenda and what it is that we have to do to counteract that. I know that we are building towards a revolution. If you know anything about astrology or you've been listening to me for any amount of time, you know the revolution is coming. All of this stuff, all of the crimes against humanity, all of the choices that our governments are currently making to take human rights away from us is crimes against humanity. Okay, the Jabberwocky, this Roe versus Wade, the disability situation that's going on in Canada right now, the disability benefits being taken away or forced into work that these people cannot work from. You have a whole bunch of stuff going on the global stage. Look at European countries. The fact they just found an absolute gold mine, literally in Uganda. You can expect something to pop off there where there's a sudden war or a sudden need for, other countries to swoop in and protect. What's going on in Rwanda right now, what's going on with all of the different countries are part of the plan. When you're of 5D, when you're acting as the observer, when you know the storyline, when you know the script, when you are 5 steps ahead in this freaking chess game, you are not surprised. And when you are not surprised, you detach. And when you detach, you do not give emotion. And when you do not give emotion, you do not play the game. And if you do not play the game, you are not feeding the dark force agenda in this 3D matrix of hell that we are living in on the earth plane in order for us to override the system, to align with the crystalline consciousness of our creator, in order for us to create a new earth that is based off love and compassion and unity, giving the power back to the people, allowing the feminine divine energy to rise to her place of power like she always used to be, and allowing the unification of one race. Okay? Not religion, not class, not skin color, not sex, not anything other than us as one human race coming together for all the right ways. That is the goal. And we're going to have to go through a lot of bullshit in order to get there, but it's going to be worth it. That's why the light workers are here. That's why we're anchoring in. That's why we're doing what we got to do. So please, please, please understand that any time a situation pops off on this physical earth plane that creates such an uproar as the Roe v. Wade did yesterday on a day of high potent energy harvesting on a 6/6 day or any other evildoer day, to be quite honest with you, please understand that you cannot emotionally react. Emotions is what they feed off of. Okay? It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. We don't have to sit here and debate the pros and cons. We don't have to try and understand. We don't have to do anything other than detach from the 3D storyline that is meant to evoke an emotion from you, because that is how they stay in power. So yeah, you can tell I'm super frustrated that I even had to talk about this. 100%, I'm even more frustrated that I am feeding the dark force agenda right now because I'm emotional about it. But I feel like sometimes I'm pushed into situations where I have to talk about this stuff because there's so many people asking my thoughts, asking what we're supposed to do, asking why this is happening. First of all, just understand the US is a corporation that needs to be destroyed. Okay? That's what the Pluto return is all about. Any civilization that has ever existed has not made it past the 250-year mark, okay? This is essentially watching the Roman Empire and Babylon, the Tower of Babel, crash once again. It's all the same thing, just a different scenario, different illusion, if you will. Let's not play the game. Let's not pay any attention. Let's stop talking about it. Let's move on. So, The only other thing I want to talk about before I actually talk about some of the symptoms that we can expect for the week, which I'm looking at my clock, I've already been ranting for an hour. So my goodness, I'm going to speed it up here just a second. I like to keep these under an hour because I usually lose most people around the 20-minute mark anyways. But this past, I think it was like the beginning of the week, there was like this portal, quote unquote, like swirling portal situation that I think was over in New Zealand or Australia or whatever. A lot of people got excited about it. Anytime now, like we see two suns or we see the moon doing its wonky thing, or we see, lights flickering in the sky, or these portals, or, all these different things that are, prophesized. There's a lot of people that get excited about that because they think, the creators, the Anunnaki, the creators, they're coming back. Well, although that may be true in a futuristic sense, what you need to understand that this is a setup. This is also a false storyline. This is a setup for Project Bluebeam, okay? They want you to get excited about the aliens because they're about to do a whole CGI holographic effect where they are essentially bringing, quote unquote, the false aliens back in order for these people who get excited about the aliens to actually come, for them to actually believe in a false god. Okay, again, it's another storyline. When you understand what's going on in this 3D realm, you should not be excited, you should not react, you should not expect anything less. This is a setup. I've been talking about this for many, many moons now, how the return of these, whatever you want to call them, is inevitable, but it ain't happening anytime soon. Okay, whatever you see coming in, whatever new developments, whatever portal in the sky, flashing lights, two suns, Nibiru, whatever it is that you think is coming, please understand it's a CGI effect. Please understand it's a holographic situation that they have constructed under Project Bluebeam. If you don't know about anything that I'm talking about, look it up. Okay, they are able to do amazing things now that you don't even think are even possible. The Jetsons, Star Trek, Star Wars, those were not just sci-fi. That was an indication of the technology that they had way back then that they were using. Just understand how further along our technology is now that we don't even know about. Okay, you have to understand this is a false setup. This has got a lot to go on with getting both sides of people emotionally invested so that they can feed off of the emotion and keep themselves alive because they know that they're dying because the war has already been waged and won in other dimensions. The light has won. They know that they're just holding on to every little power struggle that they possibly could to stay in power for as long as they possibly can, but their role is over. Their demise is inevitable. But we have to do better, people. Like, seriously, so many people walking around like, oh no, I'm spiritual, I'm in the 5D, I'm creating new earth, that sit around and do nothing but troll websites to express their emotions and concerns on Roe v. Wade and gun control and the Jabberwocky and anything else that people want to talk about. Stop talking about it. Step out of the matrix. The only way that we can change this is through consciousness. And so just be aware that when CERN goes ahead and starts smashing atoms together and we have the opportunity to change the course of our thoughts and consciousness, zoom in on what we would like to delete. Zoom in on what it is that you would want to stay, because that, my friends, is how we create a brand new earth and how we destroy this 3D matrix. Okay, now I'm going to talk about some of the symptoms. I'm going to wrap this up super freaking quick. As if I don't breathe and, through these things already, I'm going to try and do this as quick as possible. So, anger, frustration, rage, impulse. When we talk about all of those things, we talk about our blood boiling. We're all in it. We all have borderline responsivity to the anxiety, to the restlessness, to wanting to pop off. May I remind you, Mars, the god of war, is in his place of power in Aries, wrapping up his final week in his place of power. On July 1st, Mars and Pluto, the god of the underworld, make a little aspect that isn't going to be such a nice vibe to usher in this brand new month. But let me tell you, when Mars squares Pluto, you best believe that this is a drive for power. This is an abuse and a misuse of power. This is where temperatures rise, where temperatures flare, where rage comes out, where we are fanatically obsessed with dark topics, dark themes, and our quest to take our power back. Does that sound pleasant? No, but it's 100% needed in order to rev us up in all the right ways, to take our own personal power back in our own realms. Because if you want to be the change in the world on the great grander global stage, you got to be the change within your first realm first, right? This is your first realm. Your level of existence in your physical circumstances is your first realm of existence. If you want to be the change on a greater, grander scale, be the change in your life first. So we have a lot of anger and frustration just bubbling up that can lead to a want, need, and desire to just scream, okay? Battle cry, brave-heart it out, right? We're just, inner warrior is unlocked. Mars, again, conjuncted Chiron, just, was it last week or the week before? I don't know, time doesn't matter, but it happened. And that unleashed a new level of our warrior energy that we're going to need as we move into these different chapters, these different phases of building towards the revolution. It's also going to pop off in our throat chakra because that's what we have to do. We have to scream. We have to let it out. We are in Cancer season though, so a tendency to just cry out of anger is likely going to happen as well. Now, when we're talking about Cancer energy, go back and listen to the Astro Forecast if you haven't already, because that's going to let you know on what we can expect for the season. But we're talking about water. So we're talking about emotions. We're talking about intuition. We're also talking about crying because it's a very emotional time. We're talking about water weight that we are currently feeling in our bodies. We're talking about swollen fingers. We're talking about puffy face. We're talking about clogged ears, okay? Not necessarily the ear ringing, more as if the ear clicking of feeling like you got water in your ears. We are also sweating profusely, but yet have a temperature change coming at us, especially when Neptune goes retrograde. Why? Because Neptune is cold water, cold feet. We know we have to make changes. We know we have to face our realities. We know we can't run away from it. And therefore, we're having a lot of temperature fluctuation. That temperature fluctuation goes from having our blood boil from that anger, frustration, to very, very cold, just wanting to curl up, be cozy, providing ourselves the nurturing that we need in order to emotionally support ourselves. Again, very much the Cancer type of themes. Now, we are going to feel like we're in shock. A shock in a way because we can't believe that we're currently living in these circumstances. It's very euphoric to us. We literally don't believe that this is real, and that's good. If you actually don't feel that this is real, it means that you're on the right track because none of this is real. This is a video game. This is not our end game. This is not our lives. This is a simulation that our soul consciousness decided to take physical form in order to experience the dualistic and extreme polarities of what it means to have emotions, to have thoughts, to make choices, to make decisions, to see how far in hell we can get and how we can still align to the crystalline consciousness of our creator. That's the whole purpose. That's the whole point of us being here, to accumulate experience in these avatars, in these 3D suits. These 3D suits are feeling a lot of physical pain, aches, rigidity, because, like I said, when this forecast first started, we're in a new level of the game. We're on a new level of playing field right now, and the energies coming in from the cosmos are way more potent. They're a higher vibration and frequency. And this is illuminating to us where there's still work to be done in our emotional field, in our chakra system, in our meridian system, in our physical body, where there's cellular trauma, memories trapped in our physical form, and where it is that we got to step up our game and tap into the ancient wisdom and knowledge of healing modalities in order for us to escape the matrix. Basically, we have to revert back to our ancestral knowledge. Where we're at today, we're the most dumb, most unevolved, the densest, the smallest, most angriest version of humanoids that we've ever been. What we need to do is to go back in order to get to the future, literally back to the future. Okay. We need to, I'm not going to say like we need to revert. We need to revolve back to evolve forward. So we're feeling this in our physical form. One thing I've noticed, and I don't know if it's just me, let me know in the comments. Maybe it's just because I talk too much and I don't breathe and I don't swallow, but there's a lot of spit coming up. There's like way more spit accumulating in my mouth than normal. And I'm even choking on my spit. Like I'm finding it hard to swallow. And normally speaking, when we have throat activations that are popping off and we find it hard to swallow or that there's a lump in our throat, it's because there's situations in our physical reality that we're literally finding hard to swallow, hard to digest. Now, we talked about a lot here today. There's a lot of topics and themes in this 3D matrix that are popping off that is really hard to understand, hard to swallow. I'm going to blame it on that. Let me know if you have too much spit. Let me know if you're choking on your own spit. I know I can't be the only one. We have a lot of fluctuation taking place. I think I talked about this last week in our bladder and our bowel function. So there's triggers, there's tremors, there's little vibrations going on. We feel a full bladder or a full bowel like more than we normally would. A lot of that again is because we're taking on some water weight. Cancer season. Also, we're having a hard time letting go. So when we have a hard time letting go of the past, of memories, of whatever, again, very Cancer dominated theme, we tend to hold on to the crap, literally, to the point where it can make us sick, which is not a good thing. But we're feeling that intensity build, that frequency build a lot quicker. Now, the mental plane, still working overtime. We still have a lot of information to sort out. We have a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas, a lot of choices, a lot of decisions. Again, we're in experimental phase. So there's a lot of debate going on in our mental plane, especially with our heart space. We just came out of Gemini season, which was mental plane based. Now we're in Cancer season, which is heart space based. And we are really working very adamantly to try and get our heart and our head on the same page. But the mental pressure is pretty extreme. Our crown is opening up, especially as we get closer to July 5th. We are going to feel massive, massive, massive amounts of pressure in our head space. That is due to light codes, that is due to frequency, that is due to crown activations, that is due to third eye opening up that much more. There is going to be a lot of dizziness, not to mention the ear clogging, feeling like there's water in it. That's a problem as well. Again, with the euphoria, especially when Neptune goes retrograde, it is going to feel like, is this real? Like, was this always like this? Like, was this my life? Like, how did I not see this before? That is very much the vibe for the next 4 to 5 months with Neptune being retrograde. As you may have noticed, we now have Saturn retrograde teaching us the tough love life lessons where it is that we have to restructure society. Right? In Aquarius, this is why we've been going through what we've been going through since 2020. We have Pluto in a retrograde showing us where basically systems, foundations, structures, government, banking, resources, all that stuff needs to die, needs to be destroyed in order for something else bigger and better to take place. Not that I want to get too far into July because, July energy forecast coming out this week, I'll cover it all. But we do have Jupiter going retrograde, backtracking in the very first degrees of Aries that it made in. We have Chiron, the wounded healer, going retrograde. And, the month after, we have Uranus going retrograde as well, taking us all the way into fall and taking us all the way into the winter solstice. So, I'll dive more into that, but just understand that we're going through a restructuring and a reorganization on the collective level. And of course, that restructuring needs to happen in our individual lives in order to contribute to the greater, grander scheme of things. But the euphoria is real, okay? It's very dreamlike. We can't even believe that this is real life. That needs to stick around. That's how changes are made. Speaking of dreams, our dreams are very interesting as of late. There's a lot of wars being won in the astral realm as well. We have a lot of sweating taking place in our dreamscape. Again, another Cancer season attribute of, taking on too much water and how to get it out. What I will say is if you're crying a lot, let it out. But that salt in your eye, whether you're crying or not, it feels like something stinging in your eyes. We have gritty eyes. We can't believe what we're seeing. We're having a hard time digesting our physical circumstances. There's a lot of electrical shocks, electrical zaps coming in from the cosmos with these higher vibrations and frequencies, which is having a total recalibration energy on our sensory nerve system. So the way that we're bringing in information is changing. Our physical bodies, the 5 senses there, we are recalibrating that. That's why sounds and smells and sights and touch, it's all off. It's all amplified. It's much more sensitive than it's ever been. And one thing that I want you to pay attention to, there's a lot. You should pay attention to all of it, but literally, wrist weakness. Okay. So we're having a hard time holding on to things. We feel shaky in our wrists. You might have some cramps, maybe carpal tunnels kicking up, tennis elbow, also in our ankles. The reason for this is because we do have palm chakras and we have foot chakras, soul chakras, if you will. And they've been blocked out for eons now. That was one of the evil agenda's tactics in order to keep us from our truest power, is connecting to the universe and, of course, the earth below us, and keeping our electrical channels wide open and flowing very easily. So they put blockages in our palms. They put blockages in our feet. And so that's why the Ascension symptoms hurt a little bit more, because these chakras aren't open. They are literally casted under spell of this evil agenda, of this 3D matrix. We have to work very, very hard on being able to open all of our chakra points, especially in our palms, especially in our feet. That's why grounding and earthing is so important, getting bare feet on the earth in order to try and awaken that electrical connection. It's also good to clap, to rub your hands, to raise your palms to the sky. That's how our ancestors used to bring in light codes instead of coming in through the crown. Although the crown was open and activated, that was more for telepathic communication instead of actually receiving information. But when the evildoers kind of put the blocks on our palms and on our feet, we had to start bringing it in through the crown. That's why we always have head pressure, dizziness, disassociation, because the plasma popping off from the sun is at such a high vibration and frequency that it literally hurts the crown of our head to bring it in from the top and channel it through our physical bodies in order for it to actually get into the earth, for that to be recycled, and for the earth energies to come back through our physical form and send that information back out to the cosmos, to our starseed families that need that information in order to be able to guide us through this chapter, through this experiment, through this video game. So I want you to pay attention to your wrists, to the weakness in your arms, to the shoulder pain that you may be carrying, cracking your neck, keeping your spine fluid. There's a lot of pain going in the spine. Keep in mind that your spine is actually Jacob's ladder. The Kundalini energy needs to come in from the earth, come through the feet, come up through the root chakra, come in through, all the chakras to activate the heart space. That is your electrical magnetic frequency, to open up the higher realms so that there is a free flowing highway of information and energy going through your body at all times. We are batteries. We are electrical mediums. That is our job. That's why we are here. We are informational input and output measurement tools, and we just have to do the work to maintain our antennas, if you will. So guys, I know that was a lot, and I want to thank you so much. If you're still with me, I want to thank you for sitting through it. I want to thank you for your time, your patience, your energy, your understanding, for the love, for the support, for it all. We are in this together. Hopefully the rants, the raves that I went on here resonated with you. Hopefully it doesn't trigger more emotion in you that in turn will be feeding the dark force agenda that we don't want to do. I do understand it is a very, very hard battle to win. I struggle with it daily myself, but I'm hoping that putting out the knowledge, having the conversation, opening up the dialogue about it will at least trigger and resonate a little bit of an aha moment in people out there that are very still connected to the 3D, not realizing how the game is actually being played. And hopefully that awareness will help us act as the observer, recognize the scripts playing out, recognize their goal, their tactics, and for us to do the absolute opposite so that we do not keep these dark force energies in power. So of course, I'm sending you love. I want to thank you for not only showing up for me, but I want to thank you for showing up for yourself. Your continued love and support is greatly appreciated. I love each and every single one of you, and I hope you have an amazing week. We'll talk to you soon.